Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Film Schooled. I'm Person Reviews, Aaron Broyles. And with me, as always, is Amy, Movie Checklist.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I know we don't have an audience with us, but hey,
We can try. We can try.
maybe someday we'll do this live with an audience watching us. That would actually be really fun to do.
I would have fun with that. I would definitely have fun with that. So, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about Ready Player One,
Ready Player One.
the differences between the book and the movie, and I'm ecstatic about this. I just got out of a second viewing of it because I loved it so much.
I really enjoyed it too. I listened to the book I read the book probably 3 years ago, and I listened to it for the first time. I listened to it, so listening to it. I just finished it on Saturday, listening to it, which finished listening to it after I saw it for the first time. But I enjoyed it, not as much as I thought I would, but we will get into that when we talk about all of the major differences between the book and the movie. Why I wasn't as ecstatic with it as you were.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed the book for what it was. I enjoyed the movie for what it was. But as far as the differences go, I did enjoy the book a bit more. But yeah, I some things there are some things I wish were in the movie that were in the book. Obviously, but let's get down to it.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I think if I hadn't read the book first, I would have really, really enjoyed the movie a lot more than the book, because the book is very much slower paced and a lot of like explanatory exposition type stuff that you are like that is really just sped up in a movie, and it's understandable. But I think I was too caught up. I guess we're gonna get into spoilers and stuff now.
Yeah,
I was
we should put a warning: spoilers.
Yeah,
We are gonna
big glaring sign right here. Spoilers in this podcast. There will be spoilers abound, because it's been 2 weeks now almost since this movie came out, a week and a half. And I feel like anybody who will be listening to this episode will probably have already seen it, hopefully.
But if you haven't,
Stop
I'm
now
sorry.
and come back after you have gone to see Ready Player One or read the book. But actually, see the movie first if you haven't read the book.
And if you don't do either one of those things, I can't be held responsible.
Yeah, we warned you. We just spent a whole minute warning you that there are spoilers from this point forward.
That was a good solid minute.
Yeah, I think I timed it. But
so
my thing is, I know it's supposed to be different. Like, it just was too different for me. But at the same time, I kind of held it to maybe two separate things. Like, the book is Ready Player One, and that's its own ecosystem. And the movie Ready Player One is its own little ecosystem. So that's how I'm trying to separate the two of them. They're like wow. They're two totally different things.
I'm the one that's supposed to have the speaking in. Yeah.
I told you, I've been working so much today, my brain is fried.
It happens. It happens. But there's a lot of things. Obviously, I've said it in the book. I wish they could have incorporated into the movie. There's some things I like.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, like a lot of that I know is like rights issues and stuff. It would be really expensive to get some of that, but
aside from that, there's still a lot of things that happened in the book that I wish could have happened in the movie. You know, for me, like one of my favorite parts of the movie was the lich. Sorry, one of my favorite parts of the book was the lich. I would have loved to have seen uh, the lich in the movie, uh, because yeah, the way that they were talking about it, going inside the cave, man, I was excited for that. I was like, man, I want to see what this looks like in the movie, and the way the movie described getting the first key kind of disappointed me.
Yeah, that I was like the car race, I was just like this doesn't feel like what this movie is. Like I feel like it was just an excuse to get the DeLorean in there as kind of like a really big thing.
Yeah,
And I mean, I feel like they could have like they utilized the DeLorean in a way of like in other ways, like especially with that final battle, but I feel like they should have done something more video game-esque with the first like quest to get the key, and it like I feel like it wasn't as explained as much. Like it's just like this thing appeared and there was this race. And it wasn't like
right,
someone finds the key and that's how they get the board. Like the portal thing, which just was really weird to me. I wasn't like a
right.
super big fan of that.
No, no, neither was I. I thought it was kind of convenient. That's a word I'm going to use a lot for this, by the way, because there was a lot of things that just felt kind of convenient. There was just no challenge. The car race there, it just didn't feel like that there was that much of a challenge for me.
Oh, I totally agree. Like the challenge was to drive backwards through like it I feel like somebody at one point would have driven backwards sometime
Oh
in
yeah,
that
I think
race.
you would think that someone would have figured that out. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And like I mean, there's some like really minor things like they changed the name of Shoto's character to just Sho, which
Just
is
show.
yeah, which was very weird to me. It just sounded so weird because I was so used to reading it as Shoto and then
Yeah.
listening to Will Wheaton say it as Shoto. So when they were like, "Hey, Daito and Sho," I was like, "That doesn't feel right." I don't understand why they changed it. I don't know if Shoto is a copyrighted thing that they couldn't really get the rights for.
No, Shoto is just a Japanese word. I mean, that was described in the book. So yeah, that felt kind of weird to me too. You know,
Yeah, and considering Ernest Cline co-wrote this screenplay, I understand like him making some changes for like the sake of budgets and stuff, but changing something like that, like an entire character's name, just felt kind of weird.
oh yeah, definitely. It's yeah, there was no copyright. I don't see why there was why the change was there. That seemed very off kilter to me.
And it also seemed weird to me that H and um why am I blanking on his H and Parzival were friends with Daito and Shoto. I'm gonna call him Shoto because it's gonna bug me to say Sho. But they were friends
Yeah.
with the two of them before the quest even started. Like H was doing a battle with them on one of the planets. Like
Hmm.
while like in um Parzival called him was like, "Hey, the race is starting," and he was just fighting with Shoto and Daito. So it was like I liked the way that they formed their friendship and they like um did like Armin or Parzival had to kind of prove his honor to Daito throughout the book
Yeah.
and kind of culminating with Daito's death later on, showing like he was giving the Ultraman to or yeah, it was Ultraman to Art. I keep calling him Artemis to Parzival. So like that was kind of a little lacking thing to me too.
Something that I didn't like was that we were introduced to Artemis a little early as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
and it
Artemis.
was like she wasn't like well, I guess he did talk about how she was like kind of famous.
Well, there was that, but like physically, like we were
Oh,
physically introduced to her
well,
like
like in
way too
person.
early into the. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like all
I
of
mean,
them met like really quickly.
yeah. It just felt kind of, here's the word again, convenient to what the movie. It just felt like there was no challenge. You know.
Yeah. Like he didn't have to kind of build up his relationship with her or like their relationship felt in the movie more like one of those teen rom-com kind of things where it's just like or any rom-com in general where it's just they meet and they immediately fall in love kind of thing and they don't have to like sit there and build their relationship up like they did in the book, which
Oh,
a lot of people don't like how long that takes, but it feels more realistic to me that it takes a couple months versus this or it takes like almost a year for them to like build their relationship up. But in the movie, it feels like it takes like a week.
right. Definitely. It just happened so quickly. Another thing that kind of bothered me was Artemis in the movie. Uh, I loved Artemis in the book. The thing that made me fall in love with Artemis in the book was that she was very much independent, and in the movie, she just kind of. I was wondering where the independence was.
I can see that. Like she was like I also noticed she was very much not about being a part of a clan. And in the book she was in a clan and then they talk about like none of them want to be in a clan. And in the end they're
Right.
like, "Oh, we're all in a clan." Like Wade even says that when he's like signing the papers or whatever. He's like, "Me and my clan are going to run this." And so I'm like, you're kind of going off of like the entire thing of the first one is you didn't want to be part of that, but then you found that you had to be together. Like the whole thing was he wanted to make you guys be together. Like Halliday built this so you would work together.
Right.
And they didn't really do that in this. They just kind of like just did it in general.
Right. I don't know. There was just something, but for me in the movie, there was just something off about Artemis's character that wasn't in the book. She wasn't as sarcastic in the movie, and in the book, she was just she didn't care. I mean, it's not that she didn't care; it's that she seemed more independent. You
Yeah.
know?
I understand what you're saying when she doesn't care. It's like she wants to do good by everybody and the only thing that she knows can do that is by winning, like getting that Easter egg. So like she kind of wants to make sure that like to get what she thinks is right, she has to kind of just work for her like work on this on her own and be just on her own kind of thing. Is that what you're trying to say? I think that's I think
Yeah.
that was kind of
That's
coherent.
yeah. That's exactly what. Yeah. She wanted to do it. She wanted to get the egg on her own. She wanted to find the keys on her own. Kind of like what later in the book, what H would want to do, and Daito and Shoto kind of just wanted to do their thing on their own. Because in their words, it would show honor.
Hmm.
You know, I loved that. There was conflict in that. There was conflict all around in that, and that's what made that more interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they didn't build the relationships up as much. They kind of just told how the relationships were, especially between like Parzival and H. It was just like, oh, we're best friends. But
Yeah,
you don't get like any of the backstory that you get, like how they met and like I feel like the kind of the thing that annoyed me at the very beginning, besides the car race, was like the thing that really stood out that made Wade stand out was the fact that he could not leave that school island. Like he stayed there. And here he's like he's going anywhere and everywhere, and I'm just like
Exactly.
that builds his character that he has to stay there, and he's proving his worth by like finding the key and on that like on the planet that he is constantly on, he never leaves, and he just happens to find it there, and then he can go anywhere, but he's just going wherever he wants. I'm just like, no, it doesn't make sense.
Right. It there's a lot of things in the movie that didn't make sense. I will say this. One thing I did like about there was a few things I liked about the movie that I didn't like in the book. One thing I did like in the movie was that was the IROC character and how he was helping out Nolan Sorrento in the movie, rather than in the book where he was just a complete douchebag.
He was only in like the first 5 or 6 chapters. Like he was there until like IOI got to that planet where the first key was on.
Yeah,
And
and
I do have like issues with IROC mostly because TJ Miller can be very, very iffy for me where I think he's funny or not. In this, he was like on and off funny, but
mhm.
the fact that he was played more of a part and he was helping Sorrento kind of do his thing, and like I feel like that was another like really convenient plot point that he just happened to have this like special hearing and could hear everything that Artemis and Parzival were saying. I was just like,
Mhm.
that was a little bit like kind of weird for me, but yeah, IROC wasn't probably like my favorite part, but
Oh yeah, he was my favorite part, but I definitely, in my opinion, eh, he really served no purpose in the book except that he was a douchebag that kind of exposed Parzival and H. And
yeah,
then
that's
after
true.
that, you heard nothing else about him. Absolutely
Yeah,
nothing else.
the character that I really really liked, I loved Halliday. Mark Rylance did such a great job with
Yes.
him.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh, he was so like, especially
Who's
in the flashback scenes in the library, which I wasn't a huge fan of the library and like the way they did that, because I wanted to see the way like Parzival stored his diary and like
mhm.
him going through all of that stuff. But it was nice to kind of see these little clips and stuff in the library of like Halliday and Ogden kind of building the Oasis and talking and finding clues that way.
I thought Mark Rylance nailed Halliday's speech patterns to a T in the book,
Yeah. Like,
where he would just stumble and mutter across words all the time, and he just felt more human than actor,
yeah.
and I thought
Like
that was brilliant.
I don't think did he really have that many like besides when he was in the Oasis as like the his Oasis avatar. Did he really I don't think they really showed him talking too much. But whatever what like when he was talking in the movie when Mark Rylance was doing his acting, it's like pitch perfect on what I had pictured him to
Uh,
be.
in the movie, he had quite a few. I mean, he had the library,
Oh
he had
no,
the
yeah,
death scene.
I'm
Oh,
saying in the book,
oh, in the
he
book,
didn't have like he doesn't really
no.
speak unless it's his avatar. But what I'm saying was because he never spoke in the book, and you don't really see him besides his avatar, where he can change the way he talks. He can talk like a real regal kind of wizard person, but
Right.
it's all pre-programmed also. But the parts you see in the movie of just Mark Rylance acting as
Yeah.
Halliday is just pitch perfect to what I had pictured in my head when I was like picturing this character.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I guess you could argue that Mark Rylance's uh, James Halliday replaced Ogden Morrow. for the book. You know, I mean, because a lot of the mentor stuff in the book was Ogden Morrow rather than James Halliday.
Well, that's also the librarian, or the like keeper of the like
Yeah,
archive thing. That was Ogden Morrow the entire time.
that's right.
And so he was kind of mentoring them, and he gave like Parzival the second like the extra life and all of that stuff. Like he was kind of pushing them through to the next gate because he wanted them to win versus like Sorrento. But I do agree that like they did give Halliday a much bigger role in the movie, and I'm really happy that they did
Oh yeah, definitely.
because it just I feel like they need to explore his character more, and they didn't get really into that as much in the book because it was more about like his likes and dislikes and not like his personality and his character traits.
Right.
And I feel like he would have been a really interesting character. And I feel like in the book they should have done that because it's a book and you can really go into that kind of stuff more.
I definitely agree. I would have loved to have read more about Halliday in the book. I do like how in the book they do explore his house a little bit more. Uh, uh, I, I think this is why I like the end of the movie. Kind of, I liked both endings,
Mm-hmm.
but I love how in the was it after the second stage
That
where
they go to the
go into
house. No,
well
that's
they
to get to the first gate. They
okay
go and they go to his house and they go into the computer game. No, the war games. They go into the
yeah
war game
they're going to war
mini.
games and then they go into they're going to Halliday's hometown
Mm-hmm.
before they go to war games.
Yeah, so they get the first key with the lich, and then they
Yeah,
go to his house, and in his house, they I don't remember exactly how they get there, but they go into like the TV or something and do a war game simulation, and they get to the first gate after the war game simulation. And then in the second gate, they do the black black tiger or black dragon. It was black dragon in Japanese, black tiger in the United States. They
yes.
do that side scroller game as the way to get to the second gate. And that I think is going through through the Blade Runner thing.
Uh,
If I remember that correctly. They go to Blade Runner somewhere. Well, no, Blade
no, they
Runner's the third.
no no Blade Runner. No, Blade Runner is the way into the mall, going towards the. I think there was a pizza place, and he
That's
plays
how he
Pac
gets the
Man.
second life. That's how he gets the extra life
Yes.
in the book, and he thinks that that's where he's going to go to get the second gate with the jade key.
Yeah.
But while he's playing that, Artemis gets the second gate.
N- no, H gets the second key. Artemis already has the second key.
No, the gate.
H. Oh, that's right.
I think I might be getting confused. Like it gets confusing after a while. And it's been a minute since I was at that part.
Right. I think I need to reread it again.
Yeah. But you might be a little bit disappointed when it's like super long and there's a lot of different changes.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I still enjoyed it.
I mean it's a really fun movie. There are a lot like I feel like I said it's completely different from the book. So it's kind of like its own separate entity. Because I don't think they really have like they have that like gravity thing where they go for Ogden's birthday in the book, but then they just
Yeah.
go to dance because they think that's the way to get to the second gate, the first gate.
No, I thought they were just invited to a dance.
In the book, they were invited to the a dance at
Yeah.
the club, but in the movie, Artemis invites Parzival there because she thinks that's where the next gate is.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then they were going to jump in
Oh,
that thing, but then they get flung up anyways. And they were wrong. They were just wrong in
yes.
general, and that's where the fight is, and that's where IROC is listening to them and like feeding Sorrento information.
Right. And that's where Wade accidentally gives his name out.
Yeah. And that's how they find him. And then he uses the Zemeckis cube to rewind everything. And that was kind of a cool scene, but
Yeah.
again, a little bit convenient.
By
That
the
it
way,
rewinds everything but the two of them.
I think it was Chris D'Onofrio that kind of pointed out there was the Back to the Future score
Mm-hmm.
playing in the background. It took me until the second time to watch it to actually hear it, and I was like,
Oh, I've
"Whoa,
watched Back to the Future so many times because I grew up watching all three movies like on a loop almost. Like I've watched those more than
yeah,
I've watched a lot of movies. So every time they played the Back to the Future theme, I heard it. And they played it like at the turning point. Like I don't know if you've ever noticed if you've watched a lot of Scorsese's movies, he does slow motion at like the climax or like a turning point in the character's life. And
right,
they kind of use that the Back to the Future kind of jingle, I guess you could say, as the like turning point in certain scenes. So they used
right."
it like constantly, like all the time. So yeah,
So
I love that because Back to the Future is a really big part of my life. So it was
just
nice to
find it
see
kind of
that.
funny that the Back to the Future theme is kind of like the Wilhelm scream from Star Wars.
Yeah. But I guess the
Yeah.
Wilhelm scream is like it's used in so much stuff. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah, so much,
Like I was
so
watching
much.
Lord of the Rings and it was in like it's in Return of the King so much. But yeah, it like I really liked seeing that. Like I guess mostly because of the score and it's Alan Silvestri and it felt right for him to do that, especially since they were
Right.
using the DeLorean as their main vehicle. Let's see, I have
I
my notes right here of what I wrote down as the difference. Hmm.
The book is full, right?
The book. Oh, this is my new notebook. I already filled out one.
Oh,
Like these are like I take notes when I go to movies, so I remember because I will forget. Even if it's like right after I go see a movie, I'll forget.
right.
Um, Something that did bother me because they really don't like it in the book is like I don't know if you noticed every gear, like all the gear is IOI branded and they talk about how they really don't like IOI.
Right.
And that bothered
Yeah.
me. I'm like, why is everything IOI
Why are
branded?
why are you using it if it's IOI branded and you hate the IOI?
Yeah. It's like, is it showing that's just how big of a hold that they have on everything in this universe? But it, like, they talk about all the other stuff, like, that they do. I'm just like, it, again, because they, like, find out he bought that suit and they, like, do, like, that's how they, like, find Wade. I'm like,
Right.
that's a little too convenient. Again.
A little too convenient. You've got H order who's this, master engineer. Why don't you have him build you something that will do the same thing as the suit?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just me, and I'm being way too nitpicky. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I guess I don't know if like maybe H is just a good engineer in the Oasis and can like modify vehicles on that because it's all code, or if in real life H can just do that in general. Because then that would be like her building something in real life versus her building
Right.
something in the Oasis, which is all just numbers. And then this was another thing that kind of bothered me is Sorrento apparently really kind of he was part of like the building of Oasis. He was part of Gregarious Games, and I was just like, again, convenience of the plot.
Convenient.
Like that was just I was like, you didn't need to throw that in there. I didn't
Right.
really. I don't think did it end up doing anything with the rest of the story. The fact that he worked with
No, no, it
Halliday.
didn't.
No, it was just like that one tiny little thing. I was like, it's a little bit unnecessary that you're just throwing this in there.
It was just thrown in there, and that's that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I rock school career in the book.
Yep. It's just like, okay, cool. It was, I mean, it was kind of cool seeing Ben Mendelsohn, like this completely opposite person playing or playing Sorrento as a completely opposite person than the way he is like now.
But by the way, that is one thing I did like about the movie was Sorrento. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
he when I was listening to the book, that's what I had in mind. Just a stuffed shirt, wearing a suit, saying, "Yo, I'm cool. I can play these video games," and with an earpiece in it. That's exactly what I pictured.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said in my review, I always kind of pictured Sorrento as a little bit younger. Like Ben Mendelsohn's in his 50s. I was thinking more of somebody like in their late 30s, early 40s. Kind of
Right.
like he's been in the like business game for a couple, like not a couple years, maybe like 10, 15 years. So he kind of knows what he's doing. But it was like it was Ben Mendelsohn, but younger Ben Mendelsohn is kind of what I was
Right.
picturing. So it was like just perfect. He was so good. He's great in pretty much everything
Mm-hmm.
anyways, but it's like, yep, that's exactly what I was picturing.
That, that's exactly that was exactly what I was picturing. And you know what? It didn't. He didn't have to be younger. I I was thinking. I was thinking about his age. I I I, I couldn't have pictured it any other way.
Yeah, I don't know why I always pictured him as younger, but for some reason I always just pictured him in his like 30s ish, 40s maybe. But that was just
I was I was thinking upper class CEO owns a sports team, that kind of guy.
I can picture that, yeah. One thing that kind of bothered me was the fact that Artemis versus Wade was got arrested and was working at IOI because I would have been really interested to see Wade in his like haptic chair in his apartment by himself getting arrested and taken there and figuring out all that stuff to break out and like making his big plan. Whereas they didn't really give any backstory to why Artemis got arrested unless it was just like, oh, they just knew who she was and arrested her, but in the book she hides her identity so well they don't really find her. But that was more, I guess, H that hid the identity really well. But it still kind of bothered me that they pulled Artemis in instead of Wade.
I'll go one further on that. I was extremely bothered that Artemis had full function to the Oasis while she was in IOI.
Yes. Yeah.
I did not like that.
Yeah, because
Not at all.
I mean, because she was doing like the grunt work kind of stuff, but then like once she leaves that cube, like, yeah, and he was like being able to talk to her, but I think that's because H hacked the system, which was another really
Exactly.
cool scene. Like uh they like made that whole like immersion rig and brought Sorrento in and thinking he was like in the real life, but it was all like hologram and stuff. But anyways, Artemis, like, yeah, and then she like went and got into the Sixer rigs and like was doing all that stuff. It's like again convenience, but it's not supposed to work that way because when you work as a Sixer and work at IOI, you don't have all of that access.
Exactly. I really enjoy. I was much more intrigued with the fact that uh, Parzival had nothing. Like Wade had nothing. He had no access. And I would have loved to have seen, well, yeah, I would have loved to have seen Parzival go crazy in the IOI Center rather than Artemis, which that's another thing. It's like you made Artemis vulnerable in that situation, and Artemis is not supposed to be vulnerable.
No, I think it would have been cooler and more like it would have been like just so much more kick-ass if Artemis had take like they had switched places and they had been in the way they were supposed to be. So Wade slash Parzival was at IOI, and then Artemis was the one that was kind of just like kicking down all the doors and saving him in the Oasis. Because it's like that's what
Exactly.
she does. Like that's what Artemis does. That's her character trait. It's like she's the badass one. She saves them, and she's really the one in the like final gate that gets him through. And it's like
Exactly.
she's the one that like kind of saves the day. It's not Wade. But the thing that I really liked was like them like was Wade breaking down how he hacked his like IOI computer like in his like cell or whatever and
Mm-hmm.
was able to do his entire plan from like hacking it and how he got all that stuff, whereas in the movie it's just like they get the password off the chair. Convenient.
Right. Exactly. It, one thing that I've learned from working is that you never put your password down on a piece of paper. Anybody can get it.
Yeah, like
That proves to
that's
me
just
how
common knowledge.
it's like how can you make Nolan Sorrento uh, the the person that runs the IOI? That's stupid.
Yeah, it makes him seem more like a bumbling idiot than like the super cool, powerful dude that he is. And it kind of like showing the pastor was like, are they gonna like do something else with that? Is like Wade gonna break into the office and steal it or like hack his like I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking when I saw that, but I was just like, it's a too
You're
convenient
running.
plot point.
You're running what is essentially a government office, albeit for a video game console that kind of runs the whole universe, and you've got your password on a post-it note.
Yeah. And it takes him forever to figure that out. Just like
Yeah, I know it's maddening. It's maddening.
I think those are most of the changes that I wrote down. I can't really think of any other ones. But Simon Pegg as Ogden Morrow was like I kind of like we had talked about that before. It was like he didn't play a huge role, but he was the librarian in him like talking or like figuring out like when he said that he was a librarian, it kind of clicked in my head. I was like, that's why I recognize the voice because it took me. I was like the entire time they were in the library, I was like, why does his voice sound so familiar? And then they're like, Ogden was like, yeah, I was there with you guys the whole time, and I was like, I get it now.
I thought that was brilliant. I don't know. I was not a fan of his American accent as Ogdomoro, by the way. I don't know. Was that me?
I wasn't like a big fan of Ben Mendelsohn's American accent because it kept going somewhere else for me.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't really notice it with Simon Pegg as much, but I think that's only because he wasn't there a whole lot using his American accent. He was mostly the librarian using his actual like British accent a little bit more.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've always had a problem with. I've always had a problem with sometimes uh, Americans using the British accent and Brits using the American accent, because neither one can really get it down pat. You know, it's kind of like for me, Liam Neeson has always had this problem because when he tries an American accent, that Irish accent will slip back in.
Yeah,
You know,
I there are very few that can actually do it. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are some British actors that can do American accents really well. Because like there's a couple that I was just like, oh, I didn't realize that he was British or he was Australian until I like heard them speaking in that accent.
you know,
Oh, I know there was
you
like
know,
one Australian that I just found out was Australian, but I can't think of who it was.
for the longest time, I always thought Pierce Brosnan was English, and then I heard him in the American. I heard him with the Irish accent, and I was like, I like you better with the English accent. I don't know. His Irish accent just drove me crazy. And then when I found out he was actually Irish, I was like, stick to the English accent.
I feel like though, if anybody can do accents like American accents, it's usually people who aren't American. Like Americans can't do other accents usually for the most part, as well
Right,
as somebody else doing an American accent. But if they're not trained right, they don't usually get it very well.
right. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
So to switch gears kind of a little bit, I wanted to, and I think this might be kind of the final thing because I don't know unless you have anything else you want to talk about. But this one will
Oh,
probably
I mean,
take up a lot of our time. I want to
yeah.
talk about the Shining scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, where do I start? Now, there were things I did like, and there were things I didn't like about it. I will get to the one thing that I did like, and it was probably the funniest scene in the whole movie, and that's where H meets up with the twins.
Yes, and he's like,
And
"Hey, little girls."
hey, little girls, and
Lena Waithe, though, she was on point this entire movie. Like, I
oh yeah,
love Lena Waithe though, but and I'm
I
going to make a confession. I have not seen The Shining because Stanley Kubrick scares the shit out of me. I saw Clockwork Orange, and I I am going to be watching The Shining for a video in October,
is this the same
but
reason you don't want to watch Singing in the Rain either?
I've watched Singing in the Rain tons of times. I've seen
Since
Singing in
then,
the Rain so much.
I do like Singing in the Rain, but I can't watch the beginning of the movie thinking of uh, without thinking of Alex kicking an old person. But that's just me. Oh, from Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's probably been 7 years since I've seen A
I'm
Clockwork Orange. I refuse to rewatch it.
okay. All right.
But I will watch The Shining someday. But I just want to put that out there. I have not seen The Shining. I know what happens in it though, so any spoilers are not really spoilers. But yeah, the Shining scene though was like everything about it was so good. Just I was very surprised because I was like, they're not going to do the blood elevator scene in this, and they did it, and
And they did it.
I was just whoa! I was so surprised and so happy. But I think I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about that scene, and I guess the reason Spielberg did it is because um, Kubrick was supposed to do, I believe it was E.T.
Mm-hmm.
And then he passed
Oh
away
boy,
before they finish it, and Spielberg took over.
I couldn't imagine Stanley Kubrick doing E.T.
No, that would be
It's a, it,
terrifying. I don't know if it was
it
E.T.
would.
though. It might have been something else. It might have been another one of Spielberg's earlier films, like right
Uh,
like around the time that Kubrick passed away.
maybe THX.
No,
11:38? No? Okay. Jaws?
no. Um, it might. I don't remember for sure which one it was, but they the but Spielberg doing the Shining sequence was like him paying homage to Kubrick, which I thought was really nice, like really cool. Because I guess they might have had like they must have had like some kind of tumultuous relationship, if that's even the right word for that. But they didn't have a great relationship.
Right.
So that was kind of him like paying homage, and that was really cool. But yeah, everything about that scene was just so great. And
Even the
the
dancing zombies? I
yeah,
mean,
well that no, the way that they
oh,
did that, like if one of the guys had gone to get her instead of Artemis, it would have been kind of weird because it was just
right,
about like getting the girl and fixing a mistake and like kind of yeah, that was kind of weird, but I like that Artemis did it and she kind of that was her badass moment kind of thing.
right, right. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's I love I love the whole Shining sequence myself. Um, I don't know, the dancing zombies thing was kind of weird for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't really fit in like with the whole motif of what they were going with. It just
Right.
felt like kind of a out of the blue, like, oh, there's zombies in The Shining now.
By the way, Amy, there's no zombies in The Shining.
I think I figured
Uh,
that out. Except for,
okay.
I guess, if you count Jack Nicholson sitting
Jack
in the snow.
Nicholson, yeah.
Although, is he really alive? He's not really alive there. He's dead, isn't he?
No, I think he's dead. But
He's maybe
I
like
was about
almost
to,
a zombie.
there's ghosts in The Shining. There's one crazy psychotic in The Shining, but
No
zombies. I don't
zombies.
think there's no.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with there's no zombies.
There's a
I do like
shrieking
a
Shelley Duvall.
oh yeah, but I did you notice that when there I don't remember how he gets I think he just opens up a door, but H like falls into the maze and you just see like Jack's legs kind of walking. I was like in the axe. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I felt like you're
Yeah,
because that kind of I guess got the like movie like recreating the movie kind of thing, which I really wanted to see them do. Like the way
yeah. I
they
wish
recreated like War Game
War Games, uh,
and
Monty
Monty
Python, the Holy Grail,
Python. Yeah.
which was probably my other favorite part of the book because I'm a huge fan of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Like
And
I'm a huge fan of Python, so
yeah, it would have been really cool to see like just Parzival in his like silver skin kind of just walking along with the coconuts behind him. And it would have been really
yeah.
cool to see that like recreated, but I guess it's just something you
Uh,
gotta give up.
I'm just it's I just remember sitting in the middle of a Dunkin' Donuts and listening to the last part of this book and having these people stare at me while I'm just mouthing Monty Python and the Holy Grail while listening to Ready Player One, and everyone's just kind of glaring at me like he's crazy, and I'm just in my own little world.
That's what this book does. It it takes you to the oasis, and I really love it. It's probably one of my favorite books of not of all time, but it's one of my top 5 favorite books that's not Harry Potter.
Right. I I absolutely enjoyed the audiobook. I thought Will Wheaton did a fantastic job
Oh,
with
yes.
with
It
the whole
was
thing.
he has a gift for entertainment.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, although I still very much so, and I know that I had problems with it, but visually, the movie was the movie was fantastic.
Oh, it looked amazing. It looked kind of like I kind of pictured it to look almost more like lifelike and realistic when I was reading the book. Like you go into a world, like you go into that school world that Parzival lives on,
Oh
and
yeah,
it looks like a actual like a real world, but you go to some other worlds and it looks like that battle world that like when you first meet H, that's what I like another planet would look like. But
oh yeah.
it looked so good and it looked so cool. Like
I think
just
one of my
beautiful.
I think one of my favorite worlds in the book. I can't even remember the name of the planet because the names of the planets were just amazing. What was the name of the planet with the video games?
I don't remember. Like I can't remember any of the names of the planets because they just said it a couple times and then they never like they just didn't seem like something to remember. You just kind of remember what was on the world and that's it. Because they sometimes
Right.
had like really weird names.
I mean, it's I think the way that he described it is like there was every single cabinet. It's like oh, when he was going into the museum, when he was going to the museum to try to look for the final key, he went into this arcade. There was a floor full of more modern state of the art games, and then he went down and they got uh, of lesser value, and then they got to the bottom, and then there's the trophy room, and he
Yeah.
couldn't get the trophy. I love that. It's like that to me. Uh, I that's what I pictured was just floors upon floors of video game cabinets, and I got excited. I got excited about that.
Well, they kind of show something like that the first time Wade goes into the library and they're like painting around and there's like different floors and there's like video game cabinets and consoles everywhere, like around him while he's walking up to like the librarian guy that Simon Pegg is playing as Ogden Morrow.
I, I kind of got that, but not as extravagant as what the book gave you. You know, because what the book gave you was just like floor upon floor of video games, and I'm again at a Dunkin' Donuts, just in my own head. I see this.
Yeah. I mean there's so much in the book that I wish they would have been able to put in the movie. It's just it would have looked so cool to see some of like or to see all of it really. Like
Oh yeah,
but
I
at the
would have.
oh sorry.
No, it's like, again, I would have loved to have seen the Lich.
Yeah. Like
The
the
uh,
figuring out that you need to like switch sides to win was kind of like the
yeah,
thing that really just like made Parzival slash Wade kind of he's going to be the one that defeats this besides the fact that he's the main character because he just knows kind of little tiny things like that.
right. It's well, I mean, I would have loved to have seen when the Lich loses to Parzival, and he gets angry and he throws. I think he throws a chair at the screen.
I don't remember for sure.
He gets angry and he throws something. I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen Parzival get scared of the Lich, and like that to me was just awesome. And I know copyright restraints were permitted, but I would have loved to have seen the reenactments of War Games, which I still haven't seen War Games.
I haven't either. And it's one that I have been meaning to watch since I read this book the first time.
Yeah,
I also really want to see like Buckaroo Banzai, which I hadn't heard of until I read this book.
I actually just rented it and I still haven't gotten to watch it, so I may need to rent it one more time.
Yeah, I'm
But
surprised I hadn't seen it. And I think Chris
but
D'Onofrio did a reaction on it, and I was just like, yeah, like everyone's talking about this movie now, and I really wanted to see it.
Peter Weller and John Lithgow and God, that cast already. It just I You know what? We're gonna have to watch that and we're gonna have to review it ourselves.
Yeah.
I love that idea. One thing.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like doing a movie, kind of like a movie review night type thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you. One thing I did enjoy. Another thing I did enjoy. I enjoyed a lot about the movie. Uh, I liked the ending. Where okay, close to the ending, where Parzival rejects the contract.
Oh yeah, like that I feel like was like that whole sequence of him like projecting the contract, getting the egg from Halliday, like while in the truck was really like a fun sequence, but like him rejecting it and just like saying, "No, I won't make the same mistakes that you did," kind of thing,
Yeah,
was just like really powerful versus just like in the book he just signs a contract.
yeah. Yeah, I found that to be very conflicting, and at the same time, I did like that Halliday kind of smiled, and you have Parzival reacting to what looks like the real Halliday. I
Yeah.
loved that. I
And
thought
like
that
the
was
younger Halliday.
the child Halliday. Yeah, I thought that was much more heartfelt, and watching it the second time, it got me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I cried.
Yeah, I definitely did tear up during this movie also. Like it was just as much as I say I do have problems with it. I did really enjoy the fact like it's a fun movie. It's just it's something you can go and just have a big bucket of popcorn and just have fun watching this. And you don't even have to have read the book to get it, and it's separate from the book. It's not like it's its own thing. It doesn't have to be
Exactly.
with the book.
Exactly. As much as we've ragged on it today, and we've ragged on it a lot today, see the movie. It's
It
it's
it's
with
so
its
good.
flaws. With its flaws, I still couldn't have given it less than a 5 star. In my opinion, I loved it.
I gave
I
it a
thought,
4 star in my review just because I couldn't get like for some parts I couldn't get past the differences, but it is such a good movie. It's
oh
so
yeah,
good.
the performances were good. There were a few convenient uh, plot holes, but all in all, I had a lot of fun. The 3D, I saw it in 3D today, and our our theater offers up XD, which is a giant screen, and I kind of sat like near the bottom, so I was just immersed in this world. I loved that. I was
I
just,
wish I almost got a chance to see it in 3D with Stardust, but I ended up not going because it was like that weekend I was like really sick and I just ended up not
mm,
being able to go. So I wish I could have seen it in 3D, but Dawn was there and she was like, it was so good in 3D because I actually got to meet Dawn in person on um, Thursday, and we went to see Rampage, and it was so much fun. But
yeah.
yeah, we were talking about Ready Player One, and she's like, it was so cool in 3D. You need to see it in 3D. So hopefully, sometime I'll get a chance to see it in 3D soon.
I would definitely go see it in 3D soon. Yeah, I'm still not quite sure about Rampage.
We will talk about that in a
Another
minute.
time.
We'll talk about that when we're not recording because I don't want to give anybody any spoilers.
Oh yeah. There's a monkey and The Rock fights a monkey, right?
No,
No.
he fights
Oh,
with a monkey.
he fights with the monkey, but The Rock is in it.
But The Rock is in it, and that was the big selling point for me was The Rock. And that's pretty much the only selling point I can think of.
All right.
But
Well,
again, definitely everyone needs to go see Ready Player One. Just throw your money on it. It's Spielberg's best movie in a long time, I would say.
absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
So I think with that, we are going to sign off. As always, I am Amy. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NotAmyK or on Stardust, the movie checklist, as well as my YouTube channel right here. And hopefully, this podcast will be going up other places. Right now, I don't know if it's going to be on SoundCloud because we're having some issues with SoundCloud storage, but we're figuring it out.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And I'm Aaron Broyles. You can find me on Twitter at McPersonFaceFS or on Stardust at Person Reviews. Yeah. Uh, go see Ready Player One. And remember, folks, sit on the left. You can beat the Lich that way.
Bye, everyone.